Hello, hello, Globies, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. Today's episode is going to be different. What can I say? I interview a lot of people who are living full-time in vans or RVs. I interview homeless people, a wide variety. But I don't usually interview people as young as 18 who are living on the streets and who have been for well over a year. This is a story that I think needs to be told in light of some of the information I've been sharing recently. I thought this story would really bring it to home. A story of an 18-year-old young adult who's living on the streets. In fact, he's living in a tent. And his story, well, you know what? Let's just go meet AJ and I'll let him tell you his story himself. How about that? So come on, let's go talk to him. Hello, AJ.
Hey.
Thank you so much for agreeing to let me interview you and tell your story. This is going to be a two-part episode. The first part is just going to be getting your background, your story, yours, and what's your dog's name?
Princess.
Princess. Yeah, you and Princess's story. And the second part, once we can secure permission, I'm going to come actually and videotape where you're actually sleeping, where you're living. And from what you're sharing with me, it's in a tent. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And how long have you been living on the streets?
For about a year.
A year. All right. You know what? It's a little noisy out here. We're at a transit station. And I'm going to have you, do you mind coming on over and maybe sitting in my van with me so I can interview you so we can hear you a little better?
I don't mind.
And we're now in a more comfortable setting in the car. You were sharing with me that you were living in Las Vegas about, what, a year and a half ago?
Yes.
And then what happened?
So we were living I was living with my mom and two siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And there was two owners and they had a disagreement, which had us ended up getting kicked out. So my mom's former boyfriend told us that he had a place we could stay out here. So we came out here, but then he ended up being homeless, so we had nowhere to stay.
So you got to Oceanside and found out that you were going to be homeless here. So what happened? Where did you stay?
So me and my brother and my mom were in an RV.
Uh-huh.
But then that RV got towed off of the business's property. So then we had to sleep in the car. And then...
So now how many people, what kind of car was it and how many people were sleeping in there?
It was a Chevy Blazer Extreme and 4 people were staying in it.
So you, your mom's boyfriend, your mom, and your brother were sleeping in the car?
Yes.
Wow. And how long did that happen for?
That lasted for about 5 months.
And then what happened?
And then the boss we were working with let my brother stay with them. And then my mom ended up breaking up with the boyfriend and it was just me and her in the car.
So you're living in the car, just you and your mom now. And then what happened?
So the car got towed because the registration got expired. And my mom ended up having a job, but she had to get kicked off because she had COVID, but she had it for longer than 3 dathey So they didn't let her work anymore.
So they fired her because she had COVID and was absent for several days?
Yes.
All right. And so I'm still trying to get you, because right now you're living in a tent. So I'm trying to get to how you went from the car. The car got towed. And is that when you went into the tent?
Yes.
Okay. So how long now have you been living in a tent?
For about a month.
I'm just almost speechless. So what is it like? I mean, are you scared at night? What is it like living in that tent?
Well, you do get scared at night just because there's a lot of like animals out there too. And like people. Recently my tent just got dug through.
What do you mean dug through?
Like they took some of my stuff out of my tent.
So you're saying other homeless people come in and rip off people's tents and possessions?
Yes.
So is your mom living in the tent with you or is she living somewhere else?
She's living somewhere else.
All right. but she's still homeless.
Yes. She's nearby me.
Okay, so she's living nearby you in, I guess, another either tent or something like that, but she's homeless.
Yes.
So what are your, do you have any plans? Are you hopeless? Are you hopeful? What are your plans and what do you want to do?
I want to finish school, get my diploma, and then after that, join the Marines.
So you dropped out of high school?
Yes.
Okay, and what brought that about?
Well, I dropped out because it was just like the struggle, pretty much, like like getting a shower every day and cleaning my clothes and all that, and then just from there.
So you were going to school while you were homeless, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I see. So I can imagine it would have been hard trying to get a shower, trying to get to school, it's hard enough being in high school under routine, normal circumstances, much less being in high school, living in a car or a tent. So what is it that you're going to need in order to get back into school and to get your high school diploma?
I believe I need my birth certificate and my ID. I'm not really sure.
So all of that was lost? How was that lost?
From my dad giving it to my uncle, and I don't talk to my uncle anymore.
And you don't know where your uncle is?
No.
And your dad, you were telling me with your dad, what happened with your dad?
So basically I was being his parent when we were living together.
Mm-hmm.
So then I moved with my mom, but while he was in the hospital dying, he ended up saying it was my fault that happened.
It was your fault that he died?
That he was dying in the hospital, yes.
Why would that be? I don't understand that.
Me neither.
All right. So, but you were telling me that you were looking after him, giving him his shots and things.
Yes, his insulin shots and his food and water that he needed, basically just taking care of him.
So, but you were a teenager.
Yes. I was like, 14, 15.
And you decided you wanted to move in with your mom.
Yes.
And he decided to tell you while he was in the hospital that because of that, you were responsible for him dying.
Yes.
Oh my. I hope you realize that's not true. That you were a child and he was an adult. I hope you don't blame yourself for that, do you?
I did for like while I was a kid, but then I later realized that it really wasn't my fault.
Well, I'm glad you realized that. So right now, you were telling me you don't really have the funds to get your birth certificate, and you don't have a way to really order it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to try. I'm going to work on helping you to get your birth certificate. And in fact, Monday, we're going to go down. There's a learning center that signs up 18-year-olders and above. Or if you're 17 and above and have not completed your high school credits, you can enroll in this free program to get your high school diploma. So we're going to try and see if we can't get that done. And then we're going to also go down and talk to the Marine recruiter and just take it a step at a time. And that's what you've said to me you wanted to do?
Yes.
And you still want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to follow this journey with you, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's okay.
And we're going to see how this turns out step by step to get you out of the tent, off the street, into school, and if that's your dream, to become a Marine. So now, you were telling me you cannot just take me up to the campsite where you're living in your tent right now.
I can't.
And why is that? What's the protocol? What's the etiquette? What's the rules about that?
It's more of like needing permission, just so like having other people go up there and stuff. Okay,
so you can't just barge into someone's camp, homeless camp. You have to get permission from whoever's camp it is. Is that the way it runs?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to ask for permission tonight?
Yes.
And try and get me given or granted permission to go up and record your actual living spot.
Yes.
So how do you feel about the idea that you may actually be able to get your birth certificate and get back in school? How are you feeling about that?
Really good. It gives me hope for my life to move on forward and not be stuck.
Okay, and you're gonna stick with it, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're gonna follow you, and are going to be rooting for you all the way. All right, well, we will be back Monday, and hopefully by Monday, we will have been granted permission to go in and record around the campsite. And I'm not going to disclose the campsite because I'm sure that's not something they'd want me to do, right?
No.
No, okay. So I won't be disclosing where the campsite is actually located. It's just in the San Diego County area. And hopefully Monday I'll be bringing you a closer view of where this 18-year-old young man is sleeping and living, and has been. You've been sleeping and living there since you were actually 17, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, stay tuned for part 2, hopefully coming up Monday. All right. See you later, Globies.